Welcome and everyone to Hogvillenet Hoops. It is our Friday, November 7th edition. There's the date right on the screen for you. We continue to add more, just junking this thing up now that we can got the new toy, can play with the graphics and different things. But look, this is important. We talk recruiting just about every day. We're going to have a little bit on recruiting today. Typically, that's the at least half, if not the heaviest portion. This is really going to be, devoted mostly to a preview. This will be our preview show as Arkansas has its biggest test already of the season in the coming to the end of the first week of college basketball. We know the 14th ranked Razorbacks opened the season, the regular season, on Monday with a 107, or excuse me, 109-77 win over Southern out of the SWAC. On the same day, 22nd ranked Michigan State, a home game, an 80-69 win over Colgate. Both teams 1-0 coming to the matchup in East Lansing, Michigan, Arkansas's first true road test of the season. Arkansas won't have a true road game again until it gets into SEC play. In fact, Arkansas's SEC opener is at home early January against Tennessee. So Arkansas is going to have a lot of neutral site games and some mega matchups here in non-conference play later in November against Duke and Chicago on Thanksgiving Day, and then of course several opportunities, a couple at neutral sites in December, and then you'll have Arkansas hosting Louisville at Bud Walton Arena. But Michigan State, I mean, it's legendary Hall of Fame coach Tom Izzo. Arkansas counters with legendary head coach Hall of Fame Naismith Hall of Famer John Calipari. I mean, you've got the Arkansas coming off the NCAA tournament. I mean, we know they've had an exhibition season and already won regular season games. When you talk about big matchups, this is the first one since the NCAA tournament, and the gods, the basketball gods, had a good a good sense of purpose when they matched Arkansas up with Kansas in the first round, Bill Self, and then Rick Pitino and St. John's in the second round, the round of 32, and Calipari won those mega head coaching matchups against more Hall of Fame coaches. And here's the next one. And so if you really look at Arkansas loses to Texas Tech and an upcoming coach, or a really good coach, but not quite Hall of Fame resume yet. But in Arkansas's last 5 games, counting this one Saturday, it's been mega coaching matchups. We got to talk about the teams and the players. We're going to do that today. We're going to spend a good amount of time previewing this matchup. We got more graphics today to introduce and bring in as we go through things. We're going to start, even though at the top up here it says 14 Arkansas, number 22 Michigan State preview. We're actually going to get to recruiting first because we're not going to spend as much time on it today. We've had multiple episodes in the last week with a lot of intel and updates on where things stand with certain players. But one recent unofficial visitor, we've talked so much about Bob Aladat, right? His official visit going on 2 weeks now, was there for the Cincinnati exhibition game. Had a big weekend. We've talked so much about where things stand. We think Arkansas is the leader there. That hasn't changed. We do have an update on Baba Aladat, the 6'10 combo forward, class of 2026, top 10 rated 5-star out of Maryland. But we're going to start today with another visitor that, for that same game against Cincinnati. In fact, I put video out that night, pregame, of the two sitting together courtside next to Ronnie Brewer and Tyler Eulis, watching the Razorbacks warm up, getting ready to host Cincinnati in that exhibition game. But Davion Thompson, a 6'3 guard, playing at Link Academy just down the street from Fayetteville at Branson, Missouri. It's a basketball independent school, one of the top independent basketball programs in the country year in and year out, Link Academy. And it's a top 20 rated 5-star. Again, he was on an unofficial visit that weekend and attended that game. Well, yesterday, Thursday, November 6th, he put out a tweet that he'd picked up an Arkansas offer. I fully expected that. Just about everybody that has taken an unofficial visit to Arkansas, in most every scenario, Calipari, it's not just a casual thing. There's something going on there in terms of a real pursuit. It hasn't always been that way. A lot of times there's just been courtesy and official visits. There'll be some of that probably at times under this current administration, Calipari. But for the most part, no. If they're bringing folks in, whether it's official visit, unofficial visit, somebody that you're recruiting for the future, not this, pressing sense of urgency, upcoming signing period or class, which is 2026 right now. That's the cycle we're in. You're still casting that wide net for later down the road. And so class of 2027, national top 20, Davion Thompson picks up the Arkansas offer on Thursday, less than 2 weeks after being on campus for an unofficial visit. And this is sort of a track record with Calipari, again, with younger players who come in for unofficial visits. We saw it last recruiting cycle. when the 2026 class wasn't the sense of urgency, 25 was, and some of those guards and players that came in on UOVs got offers. Well, Davion Thompson, if you recall, I interviewed. I got some feedback from him following that unofficial visit nearly 2 weeks ago. Now, actually, 2 weeks today, right? Because that game was on a Friday night. And what he said was, this was his follow up with me, was the culture Coach Cal, and I'm quoting him here, the culture Coach Cal has sustained, um, and how many pros that have been coached by Cal and still being able to win at a high level. So that was when I asked him what stands out to him about Arkansas, about the program, about his visit, that's what he said. The culture that Cal has sustained, getting players in the NBA, and then having a high level of success with those players. I think all that matters because that's part of the player's development. It's part of showcasing the player. There's more shine on players who play in winning programs, who not only perform and produce, but it leads to wins because if you're evaluating players, whether it's the front office, scouts who are in the field for the NBA, they're looking at guys not only on what they can do and how they will translate and transition to the NBA game because it is a different game, but how do they impact winning? And so the more you win, the more you're selling the idea, I impact winning. I'm not just a guy that puts up stats. And so those things he said are really important. So he picks up the scholarship offer. He reported that again yesterday. Good on Arkansas and good for Davion. Baba Aladdin, we've given you a lot. We've got Arkansas as the leader. We've got at least two sources from my camp that have said Arkansas is either the leader or the team to beat. What the latest source information I brought you, I guess it was yesterday, from a Wednesday conversation with a coach with ties on the East Coast at multiple levels, high school, college, grassroots basketball, telling me not only did he see Arkansas as a leader, and that he thinks Cal's wrapped this up effectively for the early period. So we said all that without being able to say, well, I know for a fact that the family's already given a private or a silent commitment. He thinks it's pointed that that's probably what's happened, but he couldn't confirm that. Nor have I been able to say with full confidence that Baba Aladdin has made some kind of private or silent commitment for now, with the public announcement and the early period fast approaching, being an imminent. I mean, it starts next week. We're less than a week away, November 12th through the 19th. It only runs a week. In Arkansas, to me, the signs, including plus the intel coming from sources, makes me think Arkansas is the leader, the team to beat. I'm at 8.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. I have stopped short of saying this is a done deal, and I leave the door open for things like, NIL. Or you could say pay to play college. I mean, there's technically a difference between NIL and revenue share, but by some combination of those things, there's going to be offers for a top 10 rated 5-star that may grow and increase from some of the competition. Kentucky, Maryland, Georgetown made the Final Four list. We know that. Calipari out to see him a few days ago, earlier in the week, the day after Arkansas defeated Southern. So all this run together. Today's update only is I had referenced a couple of times 247 Sports national analyst Travis Branham saying that Arkansas, he felt like, is the leader here. He's pumped the brakes a little bit in the last, I guess, day or so, and has, effectively said he sees a real lane here for Maryland to get this done. And that's something we said yesterday. It depends on who you talk to. There are folks out there that are say that Maryland's the team to beat. Others have said Georgetown. Before Virginia Tech, where his dad played, Ibrahim Aladdin, who I, communicate with often, that's where he played his college ball in the 90s. It was thought they were going to push, the Hokies going to push a lot of NIL money in pursuit of Aladdin to win it. That team didn't even make the finals list. The dad was telling me they might, just recently coming off that Arkansas visit, they were looking to visit Tennessee and probably have Cal in after that. That didn't happen. He didn't visit Tennessee last week. I left the door open. Maybe that happens this week. But then they put their finals list out on Tuesday, the Final Four, the same day Cal's out. And Tennessee's not on that list, which tells you that he's not going to go visit there if he hadn't already. And he didn't. So a lot of stuff pointing Arkansas for me, but others think maybe Maryland. There's others that think Georgetown. Kentucky's got the big bag. It doesn't look that way for me right now, but Kentucky, if it shifts gears based on other moving parts and players it may not close on, it may make an offer that's too hard to turn down. And don't forget, Kentucky's in the Final Four, and that's an official visit that Aladdin took the weekend prior to visiting Arkansas. Nearly 10 minutes in, that's the recruiting portion. We knocked out of the park. Status quo with everybody else. Brandon McCoy Jr., wait and see. I think Arkansas' slight lead. Does he wait till the spring? That's been you know, something that's been talked about more than him getting it done early, but I don't think you fully close the door on that. Caleb Holt, another top five rated 5-star 6'5" guard like Brandon McCoy Jr., visiting Alabama again, a second visit to Alabama, unofficial visit. This weekend will attend the Alabama LSU football game. Holt took a second visit to Kentucky. Remember, for the Big Blue Madness, whatever they do over there a few weeks ago, he'd already taken an official visit there after his Arkansas official visit way back in late August. So Holt now has made second trips, and this is actually in totality his third trip to Alabama. One official, two unofficial, but the second one in recent weeks, I guess if you want to look at it that way. So we're keeping our eyes on that. Jordan Smith Jr., last reporting I gave him was intel after talking to his dad, still tracking for spring, still looking to schedule a time to come back and attend an Arkansas basketball game during the regular season. That's with associate head coach Chin Coleman working out those details. Now we're 11 minutes in, and I'm really moving off of this and getting on into the Arkansas Michigan State preview. Two ranked teams. Arkansas was in this position a year ago, a Saturday end of first week of the college season. Neutral site game, though, against Baylor, closer to Baylor's campus in Dallas, American Airlines Arena or Center, whatever they call it. I was there to cover that game. And Baylor led from wire to wire. Arkansas made it interesting, made it a close game. There were times Baylor led by, shallow double digits, 10 to 15 points, somewhere in that range. Arkansas would get within one or two possessions, a couple of times tied the game, including in the second half, and Baylor always would recapture control, seize control again. And Arkansas checked up short. I think a 4-point loss. Arkansas didn't shoot the ball well, didn't take good care of the basketball, didn't do a good job on some defensive assignments, especially allowing, as I recall, and a lot of this was early in the game in the first half when Baylor built a lead, was kind of having its way getting to the basket and finishing at close range. And so Arkansas began its season 1-1, and we know how difficult things were for last year's team. This is a different scenario, but at the same time, it's an early season road game. And as much as we want to say, well, the Memphis exhibition game after that win over Cincinnati, and you go and have against Memphis on the road. I was there for that too at FedEx Forum a couple of weeks ago, and you're thinking, well, there was some adversity there. Arkansas fell behind; they were down 15. They weren't playing at home, and there's some truth to all of that. But this is going to be a real pressure cooker. Pressure cooker. Number one, it counts. Not that the exhibition games aren't competitive. Not that they're that both teams are trying to win. I mean, we saw Arkansas with home games against Purdue and Kansas back-to-back years at Bud Walton, where the place is packed and both teams are trying to win it. And it's just one of those scenarios where you think about it. It felt like a regular season game. Okay, there's some truth elements to all of that. What makes this more of a pressure cooker, though? It's better quality opponent. Big Ten defending champ, Elite Eight team coming off an Elite Eight. Yes, Michigan State's replaced a lot of the key producers, but they've got a lot of retention. 1 through 5, their starters are played on the team last year. And even though you say, well, Arkansas only had 4 retention pieces, why is Arkansas's retention so ballyhooed and maybe not some of these other teams? Well, Michigan State's got a couple of starters back, but they weren't necessarily their top producers. And there a lot's more expected of everybody they brought back than what they've shown before consistently. Arkansas's Final Four, or the 4 that they brought back, it's a little bit different. You have one returning double-figure scorer for an entire season in DJ Wagner, and you've got guys like Trevor Brazile and Carter Knox. We're going to talk Knox in a little bit. Is he available or not? We still don't know. But assuming he plays, you got guys that finished the season averaging double figures, shooting the ball efficiently, and as big a reason as anybody that Arkansas advanced to a Sweet 16 and came so close to also being an Elite Eight team. So the retention's a little different. We're going to talk more about that as we dive deeper into this. But I think one of the biggest keys is this is a real pressure cooker because it's a hostile environment. The Breslin Center or Breslin Arena, whatever they call it there in East Lansing, I mean, it's Tom Izzo. It's Michigan State. That is a hard place to win. And it's not that they're perfect in there. They weren't perfect against Colgate, a much different opponent and much different style, much different kind of roster, everything different than what Arkansas does, period. End of story. And Michigan State had its struggles in that game. Better opponent, Colgate, than Southern, the way I see it. But again, a different style than what Arkansas presents. And so it's going to be hard to just take out stats and things that Michigan State did in game one and apply it, evenly to what Arkansas brings to the table and how it might look. But there are some things we're going to talk about. We have what else we're going to do. There's only one game on the resume for both teams. Once again, thank you for joining me on Hogvillenet Hoops. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. It really helps me out. I appreciate that. You know, so before we really dive deep into, the tale of the tape for the Spartans, which we're going to get to, it's on the list here. Arkansas freshman guard Darius Acuff Jr., who's already off to a great start, by the way, uh, earlier this week was named to the Oscar Robertson Trophy National Player of the Year watch list. So he's got a lot of preseason honors. Darius Acuff Jr. all league, some national stuff already. This is just another one that's pretty prestigious. National Player of the Year, the Oscar Robertson Trophy, Big O. But Acuff behind the mic earlier in the week to talk Arkansas, Michigan State. He's a Michigan native. He's from Detroit. He's talked about this before. He was a Michigan fan, not a Michigan State fan, but he was recruited by Tom Izzo. But he was, on the record talking about several things. By the way, we talked about Davion Thompson, the recruit. I'm all over the map here. I should have said this earlier. He's down in your right corner. That's a picture of him from that unofficial visit. Again, 6'3" guard. You see the photo, him in the Razorback gear and the photo at the bottom. I don't think I have to explain the graphic right next to it, a hog mascot. And that's not Sparty, the Spartan mascot, but that's their logo. So that's what we're talking about. But how about Darius Acuff Jr. Getting on the record here and talking about this upcoming matchup? And he talked about several things. I think really the biggest thing right now, let's see if I've got the right graphic I'm about to pull up. Here it is. Let's just start with one quote I'm going to put on the screen, and then I'll go through some other stuff that he talked about. He said, he was asked about in this presser, the damage that he and Malik Thomas have done. We know what they did in the exhibition season, leading the team in scoring, rebounds, and assists, collectively, each one having their part in that. Both of them scoring 20-plus points in the season opener against Southern, and we score 109 points. Everybody's going to eat, and they certainly did. I thought Trevor Brazile was the best player on the court that night, led Arkansas in scoring with a career high 25 points, double-double, 25-11. But here's what Acuff said about playing with Leak and what they're already starting to show. It's great playing with a guy like that. It's special. He can score the ball anytime, anywhere, just playing off each other. That's what we're definitely focused on coming in, to this matchup. And so great quote there. And look, this is one of the points of that I bring up that's going to matter in this game. It's just going to matter. What is the nerve of these two freshmen in playing in an environment like this? Last year, Boogie Flan, New York City native, he had probably his best game to that point. It was Arkansas's really only quality win in non-conference play when Arkansas played a ranked Michigan team in the Big Apple. We know Boogie Flan, New York City, Mr. Basketball, whatever, coming out of high school, 5-star McDonald's All-American, had a really good game and helped Arkansas win that game. And again, it was Arkansas's only quality win. And I'll argue without that win, if you lose that game and everything else on the resume remained the same, Arkansas was not an NCAA tournament team last year. They were an NIT team. So big win. Boogie Flan goes home and has a big game. It's no guarantee that Acuff, who comes in with similar, accolades, McDonald's All-American, 5-star guard, already killing it in preseason, exhibition season, and then the Southern game, 20 points and a half. Malik Thomas, we've seen what he's done. Get stuff in the stat sheet everywhere and scoring 20-plus points, on average in exhibition season, then did it again against Southern. And so these guys, a lot's going to be expected. I've said over and over again, they're Arkansas's two best offensive players. I don't have any question about that. I really don't. And there's more than one thing that each can do. They got multiple flavors. That's what I said. You look at the rest of the team, more opportunistic scoring. Yes, there's stuff in the wheelhouse of certain players that make them maybe a little better than just opportunistic. I mean, a Malik Ewan can create. Trevor Brazile showing more and more shot opportunity creation in the way that he's dribble driving now. A lot, there's other players that can score, but these two can do a lot. And then defensively, which matters. It matters if you're going to go win games like this. There are a lot more question marks on that side of the ball, especially for Acuff. And I think he brought up another interesting point when he was in this, preview presser that he did. He was asked about, what Calipari said about the physicality, referencing Michigan State and Izzo's brand is, it'll be a football game and the physicality. And he talked about some of that, but he also talked about You know, Jeremy Fears Jr., sophomore guard, so he's one of the retention pieces. Started last year. I mentioned Michigan State's got a couple of starters, but Acuff said, one of the keys is staying in front of him. He had a double double. Speaking of double doubles, he had 14 and 10 assists at the lead guard spot against Colgate. Did some other stuff well, but that's what Acuff said, and that's one of Acuff's issues has been staying in front defensively. Malik Thomas has been a big playmaker, getting steals, forcing turnovers when he's not getting a steal, jumping pass lanes, getting deflections. But he also positionally, I think when he's off, when he's not on the ball defending, some of his rotations or closeouts and some of that have been a little bit spotty, and it have been a little bit problematic. So when you're a true freshman, all of these things are going to be something you have to know is a work in progress, and players are going to get better or they're not. But it's too early to say they won't. But it's also too early to say they got this. It's a true road game. It's the best competition the team has faced, and we'll see what elements of scary true freshman jitters or anything like that. These guys have not played with any fear. They've not played with any lack of confidence. I don't expect them to walk into that building and be in shock and awe. At the same time, I do expect them to get hit in the mouth a couple of times. How are they going to respond to that? That's my question. And it's something, that you put Acuff in front of the mic. That's one of the first things I'm going to go to is start talking about. You ask about how good these guys have been. I ask how good will they be Saturday. I think it goes a long way to what Arkansas is going to do, especially given questions about Carter Knox. Even if he plays, is he fully healthy? Is he rusty at all? Veteran guy. Is Trevor Brazile still in this version of Trevor Brazile mode? Hopefully he doesn't take a back seat to the previous efforts we've seen. I don't think that'll be the case, but I have questions there. Nick Pringle staying out of foul trouble. Arkansas's best defender on the front line. He brings the kind of physicality that I think will help the Hogs. Yeah, Malik Ewan has been up and down. He can be a real force offensively and on the glass. So far, he's done really good work on the offensive glass. Hasn't really supplemented that or complemented it on the defensive glass. So he's been kind of up and down too in terms of being, really ready. And against the way that Michigan State plays, I think he could be a real force and threat because I think he's quicker than what Michigan State has on its front line. And I think because he's got the kind of ball skills he possesses, he could really give Arkansas a numbers advantage with just some of his dribble work, whether he's back to the basket and working from that position after an entry pass, bringing the ball up court after a defensive rebound, he can do that. Playing through him out on the perimeter and the ball's in his hands and he's making reads on DHOs or when the ball gets back to him, whether he pops or rolls. So there's a lot of dynamics at play here for Arkansas. DJ Wagner, how's he going to, talking about the two true freshmen, Wagner playing off the ball a lot. He does play on it some, but so far he's kind of looked like the DJ Wagner that struggled at times figuring things out. He was better once he was the primary handler, and the bulk of the game went that way with him. He was just better. That was more of his wheelhouse. And so far, it's felt clunky for him. What I see, not that he's not doing good things on the court, but there's a lot of stuff that's added elements of questions to ask here. So there's a lot of things to go through here still, but I think those are some of the, surface things. We drilled down a little bit here, but let's look at more. Let's really get into some more here, and kind of hit some stuff. Let's see if I can get this to pop up. Oh, wrong image. Sorry. Pardon me. Just a little tell of the tape. We're going to go through more. I have more written down here, but this is all I could squeeze onto the screen. Spartans tell the tape. We know Michigan State 1-0. I mentioned the win over Colgate. 22nd ranked in the AP poll, 35th in KenPom. Arkansas's in the mid-20s, 26, 27, 28. It's pretty close. 24th defensively. That's good. Actually, Michigan State rated a little ahead of Arkansas defensively. Arkansas higher up in the 20s there. 43rd on offense, and Arkansas is a little better on offense in its own KenPom rating than it is defensively. But this is pretty close when you look at just ratings and rankings. It's not, huge discrepancies here. I mentioned Fears and the double-double, 5 rebounds to go with that 14 points and 10 assists, only 1 turnover in 34 minutes in the opener. So here's someone that has taken, at least in that game against that kind of team. Now, Colgate does not present the athleticism, the length, the size, and the bully ball elements that Arkansas can bring with guys like DJ Wagner in the backcourt. Even Malik Thomas, who is an absolute pest, and really dialed in to create some havoc and disrupt defensively in the backcourt. And then you just look around. I mean, it won't be as easy driving in against Arkansas, dealing and making you're picking and choosing like Fears was able to do against Colgate. It just won't be that easy against what Arkansas brings to the table physically, size wise, lengthwise, athleticism wise. And we just kind of went through some of that. But that's what Fears did in game one, and he's a big key to what Michigan State's going to do this year. The front line is physical, and we're going to talk about some of that here in a second. But everyone hits the glass. And again, this was a Colgate team that it's a finesse kind of team, a 5-out kind of team. Likes to shoot a lot of threes. Didn't really do a whole lot on the glass. So the numbers, may be an outlier, except we know that historically, in almost every year, Michigan State's considered a typical Big Ten team, exceptional on the glass and the offensive glass. And so just because Colgate's doesn't bring nearly what Arkansas will bring in terms of physicality, size, all the stuff we talk about. And then we also know, despite all of those things, Arkansas still has struggled exhibition season as well as the opener against Southern, who doesn't bring the physical challenges that Michigan State does, keeping teams off the offensive glass. Everybody's had double digits offensive rebounds. And look what Michigan State did here. If you look here on the graphic, plus 22 overall rebounds against Colgate, including 19 to 3 on the offensive glass. So that's problematic. I put a couple other notes on here. Cal referred to this matchup as a football game because of, I guess, the physicality, the style, the way that Izzo and Michigan State and the Spartans like to do things. Izzo referred to Arkansas as the Lakers. Basically coming in with what I just keep describing. Arkansas, from a talent standpoint, has got pros on the team. You look at this Michigan State team. Last year they had a pro, but this year in Richardson, this year, not so much. More role players that are expanding roles into feature kind of guys, and we're going to bring up more names here in a second. Outside of just Jeremy Fears, but I get it. Arkansas compared to Michigan State looks like the Lakers. And it may just have something to do with this. I'm not saying this is exactly why he said it, but it coincides with an update earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday when it came out, and I referenced Jonathan Wasserman, the lead draft guru over at Bleacher Report. His work is the work that the NBA.com, the official website for the NBA, uses when he puts out mock drafts. That's the one they reference more than others. So we talk about him all the time, have for years. Even before I was doing segments, I was tweeting out his mock drafts on my Twitter account, now X. But you see here, he's got in his update on Tuesday, he's got 3 Razorbacks projected in the first round. Kind of in a cluster there. Just outside the lottery, a couple of spots, Malik Thomas. I've said recently, coming out of Pro Day and then the body of work, I said Malik Thomas might just be Arkansas's best NBA prospect. That's how I have it right now. Well, Jonathan Wasserman agrees with me. 16th for Malik. That's middle of the first round. That's great. He might, if that happens, good for him. He may end up being a lottery pick. Darius Acuff Jr., who's had some lottery projections in these 2026 mock drafts. These guys would be one and dones in this scenario. Just behind at number 19, so top 20 pick, Carter Knox. He continues to get late first round mock drafts. Went through the pro process, did some good things at the combine. Plays the right way. He has tangibles that fit the 3-and-D wing, big guard, jumbo guard profiles at the NBA. Third or fourth option guy, going to defend, strong, good frame, takes good shots, less is more in the shot selection, can play some bully ball, get to the free throw line. And so good for him that, again, 3 hogs in there. May have a little something to do with what's going on there with what Izzo said. This is like welcoming in the Lakers. Whatever he said, that's some of the points. There's a lot more to go through here when we talk about Michigan State. We mentioned the rebounding. That was a big deal. Only a 2-point advantage in points in the paint, 30 to 28. So for a team that's plays physically, I got questions about that. I mean, Michigan State didn't particularly shoot the ball well in this game. And certainly from 3, the Spartans 6 of 21 from three, 28.6%. That had something to do with it, but only 21 attempts, not like they went nuts. Took 60 attempts because of all those offensive rebounds. 25 of 60, 41.7% against a Colgate team, again, that's not a defensive juggernaut. It's just Michigan State struggle. It could be game one. It could be because, again, yeah, you've got retention, but it's mostly kind of more backseat role player types than not. Even the ones that started just weren't big statistical juggernauts. I mean, Kohler, who's I think he's 6'9" forward. He was a starter all of last year, like Fears was, averaged I think over 7 points and 7.5 rebounds. That's good production, but he wasn't a guy that you were counting on double-digit scoring. Well, he also had a double-double um, against um, Colgate. 16 points. I was trying to find it. 16 points, 15 rebounds. Had a block, couple of assists, couple of steals, stuffed the stat sheet. So a monster game for him. He's obviously someone you're worried about getting on that glass and keeping off the glass. Cohen Carr, a 6'6" forward. Michigan State, you go back to Draymond Green, who's a future Hall of Famer with the Golden State Warriors, part of a dynasty. Those undersized 6'6", 6'7" forwards that can get on the glass, just do a lot of things, play a physical brand, play a smart brand, get into you. They understand the assignment in this system. And that's part of the smarts of Izzo not being a big portal guy. Let's turn the roster over, retain what you can, that program continuity and the retention. He's trying to prove in a similar vein, even more so than Calipari, that they're not fully buying into that. You got to go and really knock it out of the park and do at least half your roster, if not more, out of the portal. But Izzo here, when you look at guys like Cohen Carr, he had 12 points, 4 rebounds in the opener as a starter against Colgate. He's a guy that was only his second career start. He started one game last year. He did play off the bench, I think, in just about every game, but it was his first career start. Now he's got another one, or it might have been his second start. I think he did start once last year. So Arkansas will be his third. I wrote these so tiny now, and I don't have my glasses on. Kerr Tang, here's a guy that didn't play a whole lot last year in the backcourt. He's a starter now as a two guard. Um, I think it's 6'7". Is it Thomas Jordan? Man, I can't read my own handwriting. A freshman came off the bench and had a good game. Did some good things. No, 6'7" freshman Jordan Scott. So he's a forward. Sorry, I butchered that. Jordan Scott did a good job in this game against Colgate. Cam Ward, a player that Arkansas's previous coaching staff, speaking of Maryland, out of that area that recruited 6'8" forward. He came off the bench and had 5 points, 4 rebounds. He's a freshman. And they do have a transfer. Trey Ford scored 9 points, a 6'4" guard. He was with another MSU out of the SEC a couple of years ago, Mississippi State. Transferred to Samford, played at Samford for Bucky McMillan, and now transferred, who's now at Texas A&M. And then Trey Ford, 9 points against Colgate, now playing as a senior. That's one of the transfers brought in by Tom Izzo. I guess he's a great culture fit and system fit, and he had a good game. He did some good things, but they've got a lot of players. Uh, uh, Carson Cooper, uh, a 6'11" senior, 10 points and 6 rebounds. Again, a guy that didn't contribute a whole lot last year, and now he's in the starting lineup. So 6'11", 6'9" with Kohler, 6'6". When you look at Cohen Carr, so this is a team that's got a lot of Michigan State-like pieces, and their retention matters. It's because they know what the assignment is, and they're playing at home. And so I think when you look at the work again on the offensive glass, that's been a struggle point for Arkansas. Arkansas taking care of the turnovers. You know, uh, Michigan State was +3, 13 to 10 in turnovers against Colgate. Nothing crazy there. Um, and they were only +2 in points off turnovers, 16 to 14. The problem with Arkansas is it's not the necessarily that you're going to lose the turnover battle by a lot, or that you're going to lose the points off turnover battle. Arkansas has been good there, even when the turnovers were even so far. This might be a different story. And so, you know, Points off turnovers might matter here. The other thing is you lose opportunities to score when you turn the ball over. So you're hoping when you do, it's dead ball turnovers, can't get out in transition. Michigan State does a good job in transition. Fast break scoring, uh, 20-14, so they get 20 points against Colgate. Now, here's the thing about Colgate. Team shot 37.9% from three, 11 of 29. Only took 57 shots total. Only 3 offensive rebounds, no second chance opportunities. Spread you out, try to shoot threes. Even their drives, when they drive, it's based off ripping off your defense trying to cover and close on 3-point shooters, but they're really looking to get threes up. Their paint touches are set up to get kickouts. So Arkansas is a much different dynamic. Arkansas doesn't want to play that way. Arkansas doesn't want to get in a game, really, in my opinion, shouldn't be in games where it's needing to shoot 20 or more threes to win. Yeah, but Arkansas might get to 20 in this game, but if they're 25 or more, that might be a problem. It just might be. All right, 36 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on Hogvillenet Hoops. It is Friday, our preview show. Um, One of the biggest things that Michigan State did a really good job of, in addition to getting on the glass, when you're playing a physical brand, you may not be shooting well from the field, but generating free throw attempts. 37 attempts. It mirrors what Arkansas helped Memphis generate in the other road game in the exhibition season, where it was a kumbaya. The fan bases, all they did were cheer. They were split evenly. Everybody, the Memphis fans were glad Cal was there. They weren't about to boo Arkansas. I mean, I didn't hear many anyway. This will be different. It's the Hogs against the world. But when you're fouling against a physical team and sending Michigan State to the free throw line, that could be a problem. It'd also be a problem if, conversely, even if you're generating some free throw attempts, you sink back to what you were doing in exhibition plays, shooting in the 60s if you're Arkansas. Shot between 85 and 90% on 29 attempts in the opener against Southern. You want that to translate. But Michigan State generated 37 free throw attempts. Now, the Spartans weren't much better than Arkansas was in exhibition season, made 24 of those for 64, nearly 65%. That's probably not going to be good enough against Arkansas unless there's a huge disparity in attempts and you kind of even out the make somehow or a little better there. But here's the moral of the story. Arkansas was a good team last year and not, creating a ton of fouls. There were outliers and exceptions, but on the average, Arkansas wasn't a team that fouled a whole lot. Go back to the Memphis game. Look at Arkansas Southern, a team that's not physical. Arkansas gave up, helped generate 24 free throw attempts. It was only +5 in the attempts department at home on Monday. So you look at those two games as a lead up to this, there's a little bit of a concern there. And then you wonder if you do foul this team a lot and they go to the line, is Michigan State going to do a better job there? That they worked on that all week. Have they made it a point of emphasis? Are guys going to lock in? I mean, those are things you have to worry about. Arkansas couldn't be any more different than Colgate style-wise, so keep that in mind. Let's take a look here. The only other thing I'll throw in here, which we kind of went through everything statistically, I think the biggest key is just kind of as a nutshell. I'm going to do a top 3. Carter Knox, it's up here on the board. I've had it up here on the board. Let's see if I can get this to come off. I've had it up here for now on my back-to-back segments, with or without Knox. I said this before. I think with Knox, Arkansas is better at both ends, and I think it's enough in your first true road test of the season and an opportunity to really make a statement about the quality of your team, because it's going to be a brutal non-con, and then game in and game out. Once you get out of November and December, game in and game out, brutal SEC. Make a statement now. Pick up that first quad one win. We don't have the net rankings out to solidify that this is Q1. You just hope Michigan State has a good enough season to stay in the top 75 in quad ranking, in net rankings, because that equals a quad one win. Even if it's not, anytime you're on the road, that equals a quad one win, 1 through 75. So make an early statement on your season. Do better than last year on a neutral site losing to Baylor. You've got retention. You've got quality in recruiting to help fortify a top 8 in this roster. But Carter Knox, man, with him, I think that's enough. And I give edge Arkansas. And with Carter Knox, if either team's going to win by double digits, I think it's Arkansas. Without Carter Knox, I think it's slide edge Michigan State. And if there's without Knox, if you said that, well, there'll be a double digit loser in the final margin, I'm going to guess Arkansas by 10 or 11. That's how important I think Knox is to this team. Now, I could be wrong about that, and we'll see if he's available or not. I mean, they might have him and lose anyway. Who knows? But that's how I see it. The other things are obviously the blue collar stuff, getting on the glass, somehow staying even in the turnover battle, whether that mean or better, whether that means the number of turnovers or points off turnovers, those kinds of things. Arkansas has dominated opponents in exhibition season in paint, points in the paint, both ends better because that's how you have those big plus 20, plus 30 margins, plus 20 against Southern. Could this be another game? And I look at again, Colgate not being a great team physically and athletically and size wise, and a lot of the metrics and stats bared that out. But there was not a dominance in the paint, you know, for Michigan State. What did we say that it was? I think I read that off. I'm trying to find it here on my list, but it wasn't a big established advantage. And so this is an area where Arkansas, to me, has got to continue to get downhill. A lot of times Arkansas will shoot more threes in the first half. Things don't go as well as they'd like, and then they figure it out and minimize some of that in the second half and really play to the wheelhouse strengths. And so we'll see how this one plays out. But I think Arkansas early and often needs to put pressure on the paint, get those paint touches. You can get some kickouts and threes, but really try to get to the rim, generate those free throw attempts, get out in transition, whether that's off of defensive rebounds, turnovers, whatever. And you hope the turnovers you do collect are mostly live balls so you can maybe get some easy scores. So the glass work, Arkansas playing to its wheelhouse strengths, fast, transition, whether that's primary, secondary, attacking the paint in the half court, trying to play above the rim against this team. And then just general physicality. Defensively, Michigan State's going to try to get into Arkansas. Arkansas needs to respond to that. They didn't respond well to Memphis early. And so you don't want to any kind of sleepwalking or waiting for stuff to happen. You don't want to play too fast and too out of your character so that you don't feel like you're being passive. You want it to be just right. You want it to be just right. And I think when you do have retention, guys understand the assignment better than when you're having to rebuild a lot. But just remember, there's advantage for Michigan State there too, because they brought a lot of guys back. All right. I'm just still trying to decide if I'm going to do some kind of in game that bleeds into a post game show on Saturday night. Game tips at 6 Central Time on Fox, national televised game. So I don't know if I'll do it an in game and then let it again turn into a post game show, or if I'll just do strictly a post game show. I do plan on coming in live, so that's something else we'll try to do. As Arkansas first true road test, first real test. Exhibition season. Yeah, there was some big 12 school Memphis. We know that's been a good program. This is a whole different animal. This is the best team Arkansas's faced. Doesn't mean that we won't see some kind of wild runaway for either team, and you're like, what's going on here? I think it's going to be a close game with Arkansas having a chance to win. And if they got Carter Knox, it could be even better than just a close finish. All right, until tomorrow night at some point, I appreciate all of you for joining me on Hogvillenet Hoops. I'm Kevin McPherson. Again, one last time we'll ask, please hit subscribe, like, and share if you haven't done it already. Please turn on the notifications once, hence you have done that. Until next time, be great in all your endeavors. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you soon.